Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars. Come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot.
I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero.
I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risked their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has, when you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Our government was established to secure these rights and for the good that comes from exercising them well. This is why the founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding. Because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire. Hillsdale College, pursuing truth and defending liberty since 1844.
Ready to learn some medieval combat, kiddo?
You bet, Dad. Let's do this.
You know, spending quality time with your kids is important, but finding a fun and safe way to do it can really be a challenge. That's where halberds come in. Halberds are the perfect way to bond with your kid while teaching them about history and physical fitness. Plus, they're a blast to play with. So next time you're looking for some family fun activity, grab a halberd and get ready to make some memories.
Come on, Dad. Round 2.
Halberds, bringing families together one medieval battle at a time. This commercial brought to you by the KLRNradio.com Ad Council.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
That's my little love dedication to all the feds screaming and yelling about losing their jobs all week long. And we've been paying attention to it here for the most part. My name's Rick Robinson. This is my show. We do this thing every Tuesday through Friday between the hours of noon to 3. It might actually be sliding earlier soon. I've realized I am not maximizing my efficiency during the day. Blame Elon. So we may actually go back to a morning show again, like a morning show. I haven't decided officially. But it would make my life so much easier if I could do the show first and then do the bus driving thing and then come back and write, because there's so much news I've been having to leave on the table because of how my day has been being segmented. So I haven't decided yet officially because we've only got school for a couple more months. So I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, so we're back. We're live. And for those of you that missed it, I put out bullet points in like 2 seconds today of just the things that I've done so far today, or that I planned, things that I've already done, things that I was about to do, things that I'll be doing later tonight. And it was 5 bullet points really, really easily. So I don't know why this is causing the left so much angst. Also, the part that I love is, and this didn't even get discussed until like days later, was the part of the email that went out and said, please do not include anything that is considered classified, which is why so many departments have been like, you don't have to answer it. Most everything you do is considered classified. So, I mean, if anything, I would have been a smartass. I'd just been like, classified can't tell you, classified can't tell you, classified can't tell you, classified can't tell you, classified can't tell you. And my boss said that I don't have to answer this, but I just want to prove to you that I am a real person. Because that seems to be the whole push of this whole email thing. Is according to Doge, it looks like there may be some folks that either never check their email or they're not even sure if they're still alive now that they work from home. So I don't know what to say about that other than I never have understood some of how we do things. And I talked about this a little bit today on my X profile because everybody's screaming and yelling about the new unemployment numbers now that people are starting that they're expecting, since people are expected to start taking the buyout. I don't understand why people that we pay through our tax dollars have ever showed up in the employment roles anyway. There should be different numbers in different categories for the different people because unless you're actually generating revenue, then you shouldn't count towards employment because you're not generating revenue. One of the things that pisses me off the most, and this is not a scream for socialism before anybody thinks that it is your tax dollars, my tax dollars, and pretty much every tax dollar that we can find goes towards paying people high six-figure salaries. Most of us don't even make that. You want to figure out how to help the government fix the economy? We could do it really quickly. Put them on the median income for the country. Then they would figure out how to get out of everybody's way because you wouldn't have all of these millionaires and now billionaires in Congress that have been there for forever. And I've been honest on this show and on others. I don't know if term limits would actually help, but I'm willing to see. I'm willing to try. Hey, I just realized you guys can see the logo on my mic arm now. Wonder if that might land me a sponsorship soon. Who knows? Anyway, so yeah, we're trying out some new camera angles coming up in the next couple of weeks. We're gonna start changing a lot of how we do the production work around here because there's some things that I want to start being able to leave on the screen, and I've found a setup to be able to do that. Our one of our guys that does weekend shows and helps me with the programming directorship and stuff has figured out how to do that. So over this weekend, I plan on figuring out how to make all of that work. Because one of the things I would absolutely love to do is start leaving like the dead clock in one corner and the Doge clock in the other so that people can just kind of see it just sitting there going one going up, one going down, and hopefully eventually both going down. But I'm not holding my breath. Look, I love everything that they're trying to do because they're actually trying to do something. Do I know that it's going to be 100% effective? No. Do I know that 70% of the country believes Donald Trump is doing the things that he said he was going to do? Yes. Do I know that the media is paying the price for all of the bullshit they've put us through for the last 4 years and beyond? Most definitely, yes, because that's some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about today that didn't make the title card. Because Joy Reid is out. Lester Holt is out. NBC is going through basically all kinds of issues because everybody's figured out that the media has been lying to them. Now, I'm not trying to put everybody into the same basket because I try not to do that, but you really should be getting your information from multiple sources because it's the only way that you're going to find the truth. So for those of you that get a lot of your information here, I hope you're also getting information from elsewhere. And I know it's counterproductive to say go click on somebody else's stuff, but I want you to be informed. I not only want you to be entertained, I want you to be able to be informed, and I want you to start figuring out how to work that critical think muscle that we all have that has atrophied for most folks over the last decade or so, if not longer, because they haven't wanted you to use it. And that's the truth of it, folks, whether you want to admit it to yourselves or not. The government hasn't wanted you thinking for yourself. The education system hasn't wanted you thinking for yourself. They've wanted you spoon-fed enough information to make you able to do basic tasks, but not enough to be mad or upset until they pointed you in a direction to tell you what you should be mad and upset about. This is exactly what we're seeing happen right now because everybody's blaming Donald Trump for what's going on between Russia and Ukraine because Donald Trump is trying to basically come at everybody and say, look, I'm done putting sticks in people's eyes other than the guy that, in my opinion, deserves it. Because look, all of this started. I detailed it all today on my X account. Nobody wants to say this, but everything that's happening in Ukraine is Joe Biden's fault. In between his weak signal about the withdrawal from Ukraine, that was a big part of it. Then you have the rest of it. You have the run up to the whole thing. And let's not forget, this all started under Obama. So did you really expect that under Obama 3.0, things were going to be any better? You guys fell for a rope-a-dope. And I say fell for loosely because most of us now understand, because you can see, if nothing else, the anecdotal data, and you can ask the question, where did 11 million voters go? And nobody has an answer. I have an answer. They don't allow me to say the answer yet. So since I'm streaming to YouTube today, I will let you connect your own dots. But I'm going to ask this question again. Where did 11 million voters go? I think the last time I saw the count, it may be closer down to 9 now, but that's only because places like California were able to keep counting till they flip seats. You ever notice where there's places that are allowed to keep counting, it never goes the other way? But I say all of this to you because something else that I've been trying to scream from my little molehill for a while now. They want you to distrust all of our institutions. They've wanted you to do that for a while. Barack Obama told us that out loud if you were willing to listen. And I've talked about that very clip on this show multiple times, where he basically was taped as saying, if you want people to start affecting change in the way that you want them to be able to affect change, then all you really need to do is start shoveling enough shit into the streets until they start questioning every institution that you have. The left is screaming and yelling because Barack Obama is being largely silent over everything that Donald Trump is doing right now. Everybody's asking, where's he at? Where are the rest of the presidents at? Why are none of them standing up and saying all of this is a bad idea? Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly what they have wanted to a point as well. They're hoping that the patient dies during all the cutting, which is what they've wanted. We're hoping that the patient comes through the cutting and comes out stronger on the other side. But at this point, we're past the point of being able to wring our hands. We're past the point of screaming and yelling about all the things that are happening, because it's not going to change anything. At this point, the grand experiment known as America either dies on the table or she pulls through and comes out better the other side. There is no in between anymore. We have abdicated all of our responsibilities. And that's what has them the most upset, is because people aren't abdicating anymore. People aren't saying, well, the government's doing a good enough job. The government's doing this. The government's doing that. If you ask everybody by and large right now, the only thing that 70% of the country agree on is that Donald Trump is doing the things that he said he was going to do. Some of them don't think it's a good idea. Some of them think it's an awesome idea. I, for one, still don't feel like we've done enough. But at least we're trying. But when you've got everybody from one side getting nothing but their steady diet from the zombie media, of course you're going to start having people showing up at town halls and everything screaming and yelling because they're buying into everything the zombie media is telling them. There's a reason I call them the zombie media now. One, they're dead. They don't even realize it. Two, if you pay enough attention to them long enough without at least getting a diet of something from somewhere else, then eventually you're going to become a zombie too. And that's what we're starting to see. The zombies are realizing that they are scared, they are terrified, and another word for zombies at this point is sheep. That's what these people have become. They're getting all of their information from one place, and that place has them terrified. The Democrats see America as a terrifying, dark place that is falling to fascism, and nothing could be further from the truth. If anything, we're trying to undo the fascism that has already existed. There are things that I'm going to talk about today that if your blood is not boiling by the time we're done, then I don't even know why you're here. Because there are some things that are going on that are just now starting to come to light that make everything that we've heard about so far seem like child's play. And my question to Pam Bondi and Kash Patel is, where's the list? You shouldn't be reviewing any of it. We, the American people, have the right to have this information. Something that nobody's told you in a long time. Your free speech isn't what they tell you it is. Your free speech is about access to information. It's not about your ability to stand on a soapbox and tell everybody whatever you think they need to hear. Not exclusively. It's about your ability to obtain the information that you need to remain an informed electorate. That's what free speech is about. So all of this censorship, all of this stuff that they do the black pins on and everything else, that, in my opinion, is a direct violation of the First Amendment. There should be nothing, and I mean nothing, that our government is doing that we should not have access to the information to determine what it is that they're doing, how they're doing it, how much it's going to cost us, and whether they should be doing any of this in the first place. Democracy dies in the dark. So does a republic. The more information they're allowed to hide from me and you, the easier it is for them to keep all of this going. This is why at this point, there are no sacred cows for me. I'm going to call everybody out when I feel like they're screwing up. That's my job. That's what I get paid to do. And I'm not going to stop doing it now just because the guys, as far as I'm concerned, with the right letter behind their name have the gig right now. Because if they're not acting in a way that is helping us find out what's broken, figure out whether we can fix it, see if it needs to be cut. You know what? I have no issue with all these things that I heard. All I heard all day Sunday, and I know Sunday was supposed to be one of my days off, but I wound up staying on the news cycle stuff anyway. So I was flipping through different brands of Sunday shows, and all I heard from everybody was hand wringing about how if we don't keep doing what we've been doing and stay the world's piggy bank, our economy is going to die. You know what? Our economy is going to die anyway. I'm going to show you something. Hang on, let me get to a different screen. Oh, that was not necessarily what I meant to do. And so I found this new nifty little thing, and I'm going to try to make sure that you guys can see it as best as possible. And I'm going to do this for just a second, just so everybody can read it, because I want everybody to be able to see it. So hang on. So we are going to take that away for a minute, and that makes this as big as I can make it. I know. I did it to myself.
Giggity, giggity, giggity goo.
And that unfortunately means I have to do another.
Giggity, 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 let's have sex.
Anyway. All right. So look at not even just ours. Look. This is the debt clock for the world. Look at how fast those numbers are climbing. Just look at them. Look at how fast they're climbing. Look at some of these ratios. We're going to go through some of this real quick. Our public debt to GDP is at 101.66% as of right now. That's insane. Do you see these numbers? We have the highest debt in the world. And we have the highest debt in the world because we have been being used as the world's piggy bank. And we have been fine with it. It needs to change. Because if we don't change it, we are going to die. We, the patient, are on the table right now, and we have a choice. We can either make some hard decisions and try to make things better in the long run, or we can let it die on the table. At this point, I'll let you guys decide. Because I've already made my choice. But you, the voters, also have to decide. And if you're going to start showing up at town halls and everything else, screaming and yelling about how bad everything is, maybe you need to pay attention to how bad it actually was. You want to know one of the reasons why eggs are $8, $9, $10 a dozen right now? Because Joe Biden slaughtered over 1 million birds on his way out the door. You want to know why the economy is trying to do everything it can to resist everything Donald Trump is trying to do? Because Joe Biden laid dozens of traps on the way out the door. Because he didn't care who was in charge anymore, because he was already basically shown the door by his own party. So he didn't care if the Democrats fell on their face. He definitely didn't care if the Republicans fell on their face, because it just made him look that much better, because he knew what the media was going to do, which is exactly what they're doing right now. You had so many people coming out over this past week going, maybe we need Joe Biden back. At least we could sleep at night. The only person sleeping at night when Joe Biden was in office was Joe Biden. Most of us were terrified because we knew he wasn't the one running the country. Whether you like what Elon Musk is doing, whether you like what Donald Trump is doing, whether you like what all the different department heads are doing, at least they're being transparent with you about the things that they are doing. They're showing them to you. They're talking to you every day. They're posting to X. This is what we're finding. This is what we have concerns about. This is what should be happening in our country. We, as the electorate, the people that are supposed to be in charge, and we've abdicated that a long time ago and are just now starting to try to wrest some of that control back, should know everything about what's going on in our government. And I mean everything, even the stuff that they've tried to keep from you for forever. You deserve to know because it's the only way that we're going to know if the rest of the conspiracy theories are true too. Because conspiracy theorists have been batting about 1,000 for the last 4 years, if not longer. And another thing that's made, well, there's two things that have made almost zero press that I want to talk about before we take the first break. One is the fact that we had a Congress critter come out just a couple of weeks ago and admit, and this was just before the FBI found magical new files, admit that the second gunman theory for JFK actually makes sense and that there may be proof. And then a day later, the FBI says, oh, look, we found like 14,000 more pages of documents. So now those have to be reviewed too. Surprise. Then you know what else I find really interesting? And look, I'm not saying if you want to pray for Pope Francis, pray for Pope Francis. I'll be honest, I am praying for him too, but I'm praying a different prayer. I'm praying that before he is sent to meet the Lord, that he actually finds his way to Christ, because I don't think he's an actual Christian. I don't even think he's a good Catholic. But I'm not Catholic, so I'm trying not to judge anybody at the same time. I will say this: Christ is not the commie asshole that he's made him out to be. And I know it's contradictory to say Christ and the A word in the same sentence. And I know it irritates people when I do that. As a matter of fact, I'm expecting a text from my dad in just about any moment. You need to quit doing it. I get it. I get it. There's a reason I don't run a church anymore, folks. There's a reason I don't run a church anymore. The reason I don't even help out with the church anymore. Look, the simple fact of the matter is this guy is a social justice hippie who thinks Christ is a commie. All I'm praying for him to do is to find the actual real Jesus before he goes to meet him, because I don't think he would recognize him. The other point that I keep trying to make to everybody is, yes, Jesus was in the passive resistance, but you have no idea how insulting some of that passive resistance actually was in the time. Because he didn't say, if you look at the original translation, he never said turn the other cheek. He said, if they strike you on the right cheek, show them your left. Everything to do with the left side of the body was considered disrespectful in that time, because back then they didn't really have things like toilet paper. So there was a specific hand you did certain things with. This is one of the reasons why people that were left-handed were shunned. So showing them your left side was passive resistance to where, well, if you're going to do this, one, here, take a look there. There's the left side of my face. How you like me now? You going to hit this too? But this is the point that I've been trying to make for forever. Because there's another story that isn't going anywhere. There have been thousands of Christians beheaded overseas. I've seen 2, 3 people talking about it. None of them are with the media. I save one. I think Life News has had the story at least once, I think. But thousands of Christians are being beheaded overseas. Nothing. You want to talk about a genocide? Let's start talking about thousands of Christians having their heads lopped off. But that's different, right? You know, that's the other thing, Aggie, is yes, we do all of these things for the world, and yet the world hates us. But part of the reason the world hates us is because of all the things that we're finding out that USAID was doing behind the scenes, or as I call them now, USSAID. Because they were doing everything they could to piss off and destabilize the rest of the world with your money, with my money, with Denny's money, with everybody's money. And it's just insane to me how much of this has been going on and for how long it has been going on. And now that we're finally starting to find some of this stuff out, they're not mad at the guy that's telling them that our government's been robbing us for forever. They're not mad at the government. They're mad at the guy showing us that the government's basically had the keys to the vault and been robbing us blind, and then funding itself at the same time. This is the reason why the bureaucracy needs to be cut. This is the reason why bureaucracy needs to be as center of the road as possible if we're going to have it at all. And if you look at the etymology for the word bureaucracy, I think you might be a little surprised. We may or may not touch on that when I get back from the break. We are at the halfway point for hour one, so we're going to have to take a quick break. For those of you that are joining us in the chat, thank you so much for hanging out in there. For those of you watching on the streams, wherever you're watching us at, make sure you're liking the feed, sharing the feed, wherever you happen to be seeing us. And again, it may not be your Monday, but sadly it is mine. So for the rest of you, happy Not Monday Day. I'm going to go cry in my coffee. We'll be right back. Not really, because I love my job.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq, Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
Celebrity designer Jeff Lewis is back with Hollywood House Lift.
I'm excited to be working with new clients.
I'm not getting rid of that.
I hope I never see you both again.
An all-new season.
Those have to go. That has to go.
From oh, wow,
It's been an actual nightmare.
to oh, wow.
This is such an upgrade.
With celebrities like Josh Duhamel, Christina Ricci, and Gina Rodriguez. Dazzle me, Jeff.
It looks like Chuck E. Cheese.
Stream an all-new season of Hollywood House Lift with Jeff Lewis, now streaming on Freevee.
I'm Jordan Klinger, an attorney at McIntyre Law. The decision to hire an attorney after you've been injured is important. The decision on who to hire is even more important. At McIntyre Law, we will settle a case if the offer to our client is fair. Partial justice is no justice at all. At McIntyre Law, we are committed to obtaining full justice for our clients. Contact McIntyre Law at 405-917-5200 or visit us at mcintyrelaw.com.
This is Derek's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
After the third time jump-starting my car, I finally realized my battery was dying. So I stopped by O'Reilly to have it checked. They tested it right there in the parking lot. It was bad, real bad. But they helped me find the right battery for my car and even installed it for free. Now my car starts like new.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the number one way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Now you need to know. See, I've been a bad man, and I'm in deep. Yeah, I found a brand new love for this man, and can't wait till you see. I can't wait. So how you like me now? How you like me now? How you like me now?
Maybe you heard it because you're a little bit psychic. Sorry, Denny. Wasn't trying to insult you there. Well, maybe a little. But yeah, maybe that's why you heard it, because I'd actually already planned on playing it coming back from the break. Welcome back into the program, ladies and gentlemen. Hour one is already halfway into the books. I don't know where the time goes when we do this stuff. All right, so before we get too far into everything else, let's take a. I feel like we should do an in memoriam segment anymore for all the news people that are losing their jobs. I haven't put it together yet, but I think I'm going to work on it over the week. But I don't know. I kind of want sad violin music, and I can't really find any that conveys what I want it to be. So, without further ado, though, we do have an interesting couple of little stories. So before we get into that, this is from our friends over at Town Hall, penned by Guy Benson today at 10:05 a.m. I say penned is in with his keyboard, just saying. So the new leader of Hamas is apparently having some second thoughts about October the 7th. One of the yet unliquidated leaders of Hamas has been quoted in the New York Times questioning the wisdom of the terrorist group's massacre of 1,200 people on October 7th of 2023. I wonder why that would be. Could that be because Israel has basically cleaned their clocks? Funny how that works. With the evil organization's leadership decimated, I don't think that's actually the right word. I know it's come to mean like utterly destroyed, but the original use of the term decimated was when the Roman legion would reduce enemy ranks by 10%. I kind of think we need to come up with a new term, especially for Israel, because it's definitely been cut by more than 10%. Just saying. So much of its rank and file memberships is dead, and huge swaths of Gaza reduced to rubble by Israel's counteroffensive. Mosa Abu Marzouk is having some second thoughts, and I probably butchered his name. I don't really care. I should have just called him Goat Humber in Chief. He didn't expect what would occur after his colleagues butchered, raped, and kidnapped as many Jews as they could, in a shocking orgy of violence that left more Jewish people dead in any single day since the Holocaust. So you weren't sure how this was going to go? Seriously? You guys remember that the primary reason that nobody wants you back is twofold. One, your ancestors failed the first time when you promised everybody that, after you got exiled or your ancestors got exiled, because remember, that's what happened. You guys moved into Philistine territory. And then, that's a whole other story. And then you started pleading with the people, your ancestors started pleading with the people that had kicked you out and said, if we take care of Israel, can we come back? And then they didn't. And you guys have tried multiple times since then. And at one point, even I believe it was Egypt and one other country felt sorry for you and allowed people to come in. And then you started your bullshit there. This is why even the Middle East hates you. You're useful to them because they don't like Israel either. In this way, they can stir you up when they need to, much in the way Joe Biden actually stirred up Russia. Nobody wants to talk about that part either. But you're useful. So they use you as needed and then go from there. You're useful idiots. You're useful goat humping idiots, and you need to figure it out before there's none of you left. And I'm saying that as much to the supposed civilian population as I am to the folks that are supposed to be the militants, because I can't tell them apart anymore. And I don't think most of America can either, because we're now finding out that this Bebas family, they weren't even kidnapped by Hamas. Or if they were kidnapped by Hamas, they weren't being housed by Hamas. They were actually being housed by what Gaza would consider citizenry. I mean, are these the people that, I mean, can you imagine if this was happening to us? We tried to turn Afghanistan to glass over a handful of planes being flown into various parts of the country. Imagine what would happen if an attack like that was able to be carried out here. It wouldn't be standing anymore. But this is the same thing that I keep trying to say with everybody else, with everything that's going on in Ukraine. Everybody forgets that one of the key things that pushed Putin over the edge was when all of a sudden it started being talked about, and I misspoke earlier. When it started being talked about that Ukraine could have possibly been granted membership to NATO. Now, the Warsaw Pact, which was founded to be a counterbalance for the East, the Eastern Bloc, doesn't really exist anymore. But imagine if it did, and suddenly Mexico started petitioning to be part of the Warsaw Pact Treaty. What do you think we would have done? What do you think we would have done? This isn't about portraying weakness to the rest of the world. This is about trying to tell the world we can't be your piggy bank anymore. We can't be the ones funding your defense while you get to have all the pie in the sky social programs. Do you guys not realize that in between us funding the military defense of the world and USAID, we've been the ones making sure the rest of the world has access to socialized medicine? If they actually had to foot their own defense bills and everything else, they wouldn't be able to. Well, yeah, there's that too. Aggie's like Hamas didn't count on the Biden admin lying about the support Biden had here. And you're not wrong. I mean, I don't think anybody counted on all of the lying bullshit that had come out about this administration, even from the former administration. You guys realize that the entire Biden family was under investigation during the Obama era, and every agency that was investigating them was told to stand down? One of his brothers was being investigated for Medicaid fraud, and they were told to stand down. They've known about this laptop bullshit for forever. And you want to know why we don't trust our government anymore? First of all, you should never trust your government. I'm even harder than Reagan is on that. He was always trust but verify. I'm like, no, verify and then trust. Trust isn't given freely, trust is earned. And right now, our government doesn't deserve any of our trust. And I don't care what the letter is behind their name, because too many of them are still playing the same political games behind the scenes that they have always played. They'll come out in front of the cameras and tell the voters what they want to hear, and then go back to Congress and be like, yeah, we're not voting for that. I mean, I don't like a lot of what's in this big, beautiful bill either. But what are we going to do? Are we going to grind our own government to a halt now that we're supposedly the governing party? That's going to look kind of fucking retarded. You want the Democrats out on the world stage going, see, we told you they couldn't govern. They can't even get their budgets funded. Not that they do a great job of it either. Yeah, I guess you said it better than I did, Aggie. She's like, yeah, I'm more don't trust than always verify. I'm like, yeah, I guess you kind of got a point there. All right, so let's take a look at something else here. Hang on. I got to find it first, though. Not what I was looking for. 1 second. Well, I had it. 1 second. Oh, found it. One moment, please. Mhm. Okay, so apparently it won't let me take it full screen. So 1 second. So we're just gonna have to make it look ugly. I apologize. It might after I press play though, or not. Now I don't even know if it's gonna play at all.
When you are in the midst of a crisis, and specifically a crisis of democracy, how do you resist? When fascism isn't just coming, it's already here. So what, if anything, can you do about it? Well, for one thing, you can try to learn from history, from what people in this situation in countries around the world and in America have done before. As my friend Rachel Maddow always says, history is here to help. America hasn't always been a free country for everyone, and we've had resistance movements from day one. The first rule is to fight back, to never stop resisting. Do not obey in advance, as Tim Snyder put it. Do not take the knee, to throw in a Game of Thrones reference. Even if it's scary or uncomfortable or inconvenient, just keep saying no, or finding creative ways to say no in small ways and large.
So that was Joy Reid's final monologue before she was shown the door. And it echoed a lot of what who was it that recently left Acosta, I think, who recently left CNN rather than moving to the West Coast and taking what would be a later East Coast time slot. And all I have to say to these people is they're hypocrites. Because why is it? And I'm going to be honest. I think our side is just as hypocritical sometimes. I know that's not a popular thing to say, but one of the things that drives me absolutely nuts is when the other side's in power, everybody's all resist, 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 and then the other side's not in power, and then all of a sudden it's not okay to resist anymore. You know what? Let them resist. Let them resist because they're picking some of the most stupid hills to die on. And I think if we can stay the course, everybody's going to continue to see it. The reason all of these far left ideologues are losing their jobs is because nobody's paying attention to them anymore. The only reason half of them even got any press half the time, and I said this to Hunter Engelman the other day, who was, laughing that Joy Reid's 12 remaining viewers were hardest hit. And I'm like, no, we weren't. The only 12 to 18 people that were still watching her were the people that were using her as fodder because nobody's paying attention to them anymore. CNN is dying because it can't afford to pay for the airport contract anymore, which will bump up their ratings. The American government has been doing the same thing. I asked this question in the beginning of the hour. I'm going to ask it again as we get close to the end of the hour. Why are people that are being paid by our tax dollars counted on our employment rolls? Because they are not producing anything. They're being paid by our production. They shouldn't even be counted towards the employment rolls. It should be no different than all the business owners that don't count on the employment rolls anymore. If you go onto the public dole one way or the other, then you shouldn't be counted anymore because we need an accurate representation of the people that are actually producing goods and services and revenue in this country so we know what it is that we need to fix. So the idea that everybody's freaking out because all of a sudden the unemployment numbers are going to go nuts because of all the people that are taking the Doge buyout, and now you've got Shark Tank folks saying that there needs to be another 20% cut. You know what? I'm saying we could probably cut it even further. I'm sorry. I may not have started, when I started doing this, I may not have been a minarchist, but I am now. Our government needs to be small enough that should the need arise, we can drown it in a bathtub. Because we can't control it anymore. And if we can't control it, then it's controlling us. And that's just the truth of it. And I'm pretty sure I just paraphrased Calvin Coolidge. But it's still true. If we aren't controlling our government, then our government is controlling us. And look at every aspect of your life that your government has control of right now, whether it's local government, state government, federal government. You can't even hunt anymore without government permission. You can't fish anymore without government permission. You can't drive a car anymore without government permission. You can't own a vehicle without government permission because you have to be able to keep it registered. Then now they have compulsory insurance laws, which is forcing you to take part in communism. They have these stupid seatbelt and helmet laws. You know what? For kids, I get it. And this is coming from somebody who used to have to issue some of those citations. It's stupid to do it to adults. I don't care. We have the ability and the God-given right to be born free. That means if we want to make stupid choices, we have the ability to make stupid choices. Now, if I don't have a car seat in my car and I'm ferrying grandkids back and forth, that's one thing. But if I'm an adult, let me live my life. Why does the government get to tell you how to live your life? The government has been doing everything they can to not only tell you how to live your life, but to indoctrinate you so you think there's really only one way that you can live your life. And that is to go into their battery farm, otherwise known as the tax rolls. Even though, truth be told, if you do it and you do it right and you work hard enough, you're going to make a hell of a lot more money working for yourself than you ever will being on the government tax rolls. You just have to be willing to put in the work. And it really is that simple. Ladies and gentlemen, nothing I do here is easy. I work all the time. I work so much that my friends are like, do you ever do anything besides work? And I'm like, not right now, no. Not right now, no. Because I've been trying to build this as a side gig for over 16 years. And for the last year and a half, I've been trying to do it full time. And it's going to take what it takes for me to get it completely off the ground. Because I'm never going to quit. This is one of the things that I've tried to tell everybody. Every job I've ever had in one form or another, I've become a coach. Whether it was training the people that were under me when I ran my own company, whether it was training people when I started working for call centers. I was one of the trainers when I did fast food work. Hang on a second. I have a text from a client. Make sure he's not. Okay, I was actually an attaboy. By the way, now this is for the lifetime of the cast, but the Loftus Party podcast just passed 250,000 downloads. So thanks to everybody who checks that out as well. He's actually a client of mine, so you helping him helps me. So thank you. All right. Anyway, so let's see if we have. Is there a clip on this one? Yeah, let's hit this on the way out to break, and then we'll take the break. Hang on. As soon as I find it again, because I lost it. I just had it. Okay, so I guess I was already on that screen. 1 second. Now, I'm not even going to tease this one much. I'm just going to let it play. So if it turns out the way the descriptor says it will, we should all be laughing in a moment.
House Republicans, they've been on the run. They are feeling the pressure of the fact that their policies are deeply unpopular with the American people. And we've seen that play out this past week all across the country. And Democrats are going to continue to make clear that we will stand against the effort to end Medicaid as we know it, stand against the effort to detonate Social Security or Medicare, certainly stand against the effort to undermine veterans' benefits or nutritional assistance to children and families.
So it's certainly true that President Trump's poll numbers are not in a great place, although they're higher than they ever were in his first term. But Congressional Republicans polling is about 40%. Congressional Democrats polling is about 20%. So that's an issue for you.
House Republicans.
All right. So there were polls that came out over the weekend that had the Dems scratching their heads because as of right now, Donald Trump, depending on the polls you look at, has anywhere between a 52% to a 55% approval rating. Now, if you take the actual average and throw in some of the other polls, it puts it to about 47, 48%. That's still 15 points higher on the high end than he ever had in his previous administration. Also, take into account 70% of the American people believe he is doing what he says he was going to do, even if only 65% of those people think that we're on the right track with those things that he's doing. But this is one of the things that I keep trying to point out. If the numbers are polling that high, then you need to ask yourself, why are there all of these supposed Republicans in these town halls screaming and yelling and wringing their hands? They're not. They're not. These are people that are being bussed in again. These are the same things they always do. They start trying to sour the well to make everyone look how unpopular all of this is. And then they go on the news cycles and look how unpopular all this is. You know what? If it was anywhere near as unpopular as they're saying, as they're saying it is, pardon me, then the left's numbers would be going up. They're not. Now, I will tell you that the number of people that probably completely disapprove of the Democrats is probably closer to about 40%. The reason the number is as low as it is right now on paper is because a lot of the people that are being polled are saying the Democrats are doing, on the Democratic side, are saying they're not doing enough to fight the Republicans. So that's another reason why their approval rating is as low as it is. So if you remove those, that puts it to about a 40% Democrat approval rating, which puts it pretty well on par with the congressional Republicans. But again, this explains why there's such an even split in the House. This is something that we need to figure out. Why are the electorate sending mixed messages? Or are they sending mixed messages? Because again, California was able to flip several seats because they were allowed to keep counting until the seats got flipped. You know, one of the things that I want Doge to do, and I don't know if it means that we have to eventually start another division about our election integrity. You know, that should be where what DEI gets morphed into, Department of Election Integrity. Because I want to start looking to see why it is that so many places that lean left are allowed to keep voting or keep counting votes until they flip seats. I want to know why that's a thing. I want to know why everybody seems to think that's okay, because I think that's terrible. I think it's cheating the electorate. And I think a lot of people that live in those states are starting to feel the same way, because now you've got parts of Oregon and Washington that are wanting to split off from the leftist havens. You've got California, the the movement to split California started up again. Are these things going to take hold? I don't really know. But it just proves that so many people are feeling like they're not even being represented by their own government. That's a terrible feeling, to realize that because of some of the things that have happened within state government and local government, you no longer have a voice. And one of the things that I keep seeing everybody talk about, and we had a guest on Juxtaposition Saturday night who actually ran for office in the local level. It's like we had a 13% turnout. We had a 13% turnout because nobody feels like they can make a difference anymore. They don't feel like they have a voice. But this is part of the plan, and this is why I keep telling everybody, stop buying into that narrative. Because if there's only 13% turnout, and that is what is making the changes that some of you don't like, then start getting involved at the local level to make the changes that you want to be made. It should be easier to impact local level stuff than it is at the national level, because look at the turnout levels when you look at local elections. They're terrible. You get 4 or 5% coming out going the other way, everything could change. And that's the part that nobody talked about in 2022. Was, yeah, there was supposed to be this huge red wave and it didn't happen. But again, it didn't happen because some of the states still hadn't shored up their election integrity by 2022. And it also did happen in a lot of ways because we didn't have a red wave, but we had a red tsunami in Florida. Florida is redder than it's ever been. Still trending that way. And in the rest of the country, we had red well springs pop up everywhere. You had school districts that went red for the first time. You had all these people that were starting to make changes. Half the reason why the country understands what's been happening in our school districts now is because of so many have changed directions and been weighted the other way. So all I'm saying to you is our fight's not over. If anything, our fight's just beginning. We need to hold everybody's feet to the fire. I don't care what the letter is behind their name. I don't care if they're telling you everything that you want to hear every time they're in front of a camera. Make sure what they're telling you in front of the camera matches what they're doing behind the scenes. We'll be right back. Top of the hour is upon us. Hour 2 on the other side.
Take a stand, take a stand. Everybody, come take my hand, come take my hand.
Hello, friends. We have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy. No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars, come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot.
I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero.
I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risk their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has, when you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Our government was established to secure these rights and for the good that comes from exercising them well. This is why the founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire. Hillsdale College, pursuing truth and defending liberty since 1844.
Ready to learn some medieval combat, kiddo?
You bet, Dad. Let's do this.
You know, spending quality time with your kids is important, but finding a fun and safe way to do it can really be a challenge. That's where halberds come in. Halberds are the perfect way to bond with your kid while teaching them about history and physical fitness. Plus, they're a blast to play with. So next time you're looking for some family fun activity, grab a halberd and get ready to make some memories.
Come on, Dad. Round 2.
Halberds, bringing families together one medieval battle at a time. This commercial brought to you by the KLRNradio.com Ad Council.
I'm Kristi Noem, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. Thank you, President Donald J. Trump, for securing our border, for deporting criminal illegal immigrants, and for putting America first. President Trump has a clear message for those that are in our country illegally. Leave now. If you don't, we will find you, and we will deport you. You will never return. For too long, weak politicians left our borders wide open. They flooded our communities with drugs, human trafficking, and violent criminals. They put American lives at risk. Well, those days are over. If you leave now, you may have an opportunity to return and enjoy our freedom and live the American dream. But understand this. Under President Trump, America's borders are closed to lawbreakers. Follow the law, and you'll find opportunity. Break it, and you'll find consequences. The choice is yours. America welcomes those who respect our laws, because a strong nation is a safe nation.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Oh, 'cause they will run you down to the door. Yeah, someday we'll run you down till you fall. And they will run you down till you go. Yeah, till you can't grow no more. And where down we go, where down we go.
And welcome into hour 2 of the It's Not Your Monday, but it is mine edition of the Rick Robinson Show, live right here on KLRNradio.com. Don't forget, after tonight, or after this afternoon, make sure you come back for the Cocktail Lounge tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern with the lovely Aggie Regan and the Brad with the good hair, and then come and then hang out for the Manorama panel live on Rancor Steve's Rumble channel, YouTube channel, and here on KLRNradio.com and on my feed as well. So hope you guys are having a great Tuesday. I feel a little bit off because it's my Monday. It wasn't supposed to be. I was actually supposed to work last night, and then I'm not going to go into too much detail, but the reason the show was short on Friday is because I had a friend who declared a medical emergency, and I had to help them with that, and they are currently in the hospital. So that's what I was dealing with all day yesterday. So I'm not going to go into too much more detail other than that, but if you are so inclined, Prayers, positive thoughts, vibes, whatever you got would be greatly appreciated. All right. So without further ado, let's get back into the program because there's a lot to talk about. And there always is, especially when I take a couple days off. So, we just added a new commercial to the ranks, and I'll be getting that cleaned up for further use later, because I just kind of decided to play it on the fly. But since we did play that one, let's talk about DHS Secretary Noem. All right, so let's take a look here, because this just happened. And sorry, I have too many tabs open, and I can't remember which one I was on. All right, so I guess it was Red State. My bad. So apparently, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem has found employees who leaked to the press about illegal immigration rates. That's probably not going to go very far, or as far as being a good thing anyway. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem appeared on Monday's Fox News Hannity to announce she had found the leakers within DHS who were exposing the DHS and ICE raids to sweep up criminal illegal aliens. I have found some leakers. We are continuing to get more. They will be fired. There will be consequences. And remember, when they leak information to the press in order to blow an op, they are putting law enforcement lives in jeopardy. They are risking their lives and putting their families in the position where they have to live without those individuals. So you bet we have used every tactic that we have. Noem also told Hannity that they are employing various tools to root out the bureaucratic actors who are choosing to resist from inside by sabotaging operations. And here's actually a clip discussing this from the Rapid Response 47 account, which was a masterful stroke. I do like the fact that Trump seems to have put some younger folks in charge of his social media and is actually using them to his advantage, because this is probably one of the best things they've done so far, is putting together this account. If you're not following it yet, you probably should be. It's at Rapid Response 47, but here's the clip.
I have found some leakers. We are continuing to get more. They will be fired. There will be consequences. And remember, when they leak information to the press in order to blow an op, they are putting law enforcement lives in jeopardy. They are risking their lives and putting their families in the position where they have to live without those individuals any further. So you bet we have used every tactic that we have. If you remember, we talked just last week about how I'm using polygraphs to go after and to really interview these folks. Because we are a national security agency, I have that tool I can use. Also looking at their emails, looking at their communications. And it's amazing how these bureaucrats who have an agenda to stop the work that we're doing to bring safety to America, how they will sell each other down the river if it's just to protect themselves. So don't worry, I am doing everything to find these leakers and to get rid of them so that we can do our work and our law enforcement officers and agents can do it safely.
So yeah, some folks are being put on notice. We're finding you. We know who you are, and we're going to deal with you accordingly. I'm going to be honest. I think we need to bring back treason charges. I know that's a charge that nobody's really thrown around in a while, but when you are putting out notices that directly violate federal law that can get people shot, I'm just saying, maybe I'm being a little too harsh. Maybe I'm not. That's on you guys to decide. But while you're deciding that, let's keep looking at the rest of the news, because this has been happening too. You knew this was going to happen, by the way. You just knew it if you've been paying attention. Hang on. So this is Rachel Madcow, and she is responding to Joy Reid being fired. You'll never guess what she says, though. Just check this out.
An even bigger programming change is at 7 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern, where Joy Reid's show, The Readout, ended tonight. And Joy is not taking a different job in the network. She is leaving the network altogether. And that is very, very, very hard to take. I am 51 years old. I have been gainfully employed since I was 12. And I have had so many different kinds of jobs, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. But in all of the jobs I have had, in all of the years I have been alive, there is no colleague for whom I have had more affection and more respect than Joy Reid. I love everything about her. I have learned so much from her. I have so much more to learn from her. I do not want to lose her as a colleague here at MSNBC. And personally, I think it's a bad mistake to let her walk out the door. It is not my call, and I understand that, but that's what I think. I will tell you, it is also unnerving to see that on a network where we've got count them, two non-white hosts in primetime, both of our non-white hosts in primetime are losing their shows, as is Katie Fang on the weekend. And that feels worse than bad, no matter who replaces them. That feels indefensible, and I do not defend it.
MSDNC is racist. They're racist. They're getting rid of all the people of color because they want to fit in with the Nazis. And I've been jokingly saying this for a while, but I expect pretty much within the next probably 2 to 3 years, if this trend continues, the white folk are going to retake their N-word. We're just going to be walking up to each other, doing the whole jive slap, going, "What's up, my Nazi?" Because I don't care anymore. They're throwing a fit because everybody's been sneaking in Nazi salutes. You know why? Because they're trolling your ass. Because you're retarded. Not everything is about Nazism. As a matter of fact, most of the people that were well aligned with the Nazis were the Democrats. There was never a party switch. There's a party realignment happening right now, and we might as well at this point, if we could ever get the actual leadership or the elected folks on board, change the name of the Republican Party to the Common Sense Party, because we got everybody from all stripes now. There are people that were used to be Democrats that are working for this president. You want to talk about common sense showing up everywhere. He's pulling people from all sides that just have good ideas to try to see what we can do to make this country better, to make it stronger again, and to help it not only survive, but to thrive. And he's being fought on all sides again, because now you've got Congress critters that are coming out against the budget bill. Look, there are things in it that I don't like either. But what are we supposed to do? I mean, we can let it shut down. If that's the tact you guys decide you want to take, you know what? I'm not the boss. But I do find it interesting that all the same people that are screaming and yelling about all the cutting, especially the Democrats, they now want to shut down all the things because Elon Musk and Donald Trump are trying to shut down some of the things. What sense does that make? They used to be the party screaming about the waste, fraud, and abuse. When did that change? Why did it change? Because they figured out how to use it to their advantage. That's how. That's why USAID was codified in 1998. Who was in charge in 1998? At least at the top of the ticket. But this also proves that both sides have been on the grift. Because everybody's used it. Well, I've been saying this for years. The only thing that has ever really changed until now is the direction the money spigots are pointed depending on who's in charge. This is the first time in a long time, I've seen our government try to be reined in, and they're fighting every inch, tooth, and nail to stop it because they don't want to be reined in. They don't want to be reined in. They don't know what to do if they are reined in because it's just nuts for them because they've been able to do whatever the hell they've wanted to do for forever. It's insane to me. Hang on a second. All right, so one of the reasons that I have been lobbying against all this bureaucracy for a long time is, and I told you guys we might get into this at some point, and we might as well. So if you look at the etymology of the word government or the word bureaucracy, you're going to find out that you might be a little surprised. So the term bureaucracy originated in the French language. It combines the French word bureau or desk or office with the Greek word kratos or rule or political power. So what you're actually talking about is rule by people who aren't elected. The term bureaucracy specifically means ruled by the unelected, or the offices or the desk of. This is why, for decades now, nobody inside that bureaucracy has really cared who's been in charge, because they have just been able to keep their things going in the background, and nobody ever really did that much about them. Hell, even Donald Trump, his first term, when he was trying to see what all he could wind up cutting and getting rid of, his own party fought him. They're starting to again, because they're getting unwelcome attention at home. You know what? You guys are the ones that petitioned the rest of the country that you were going to treat us like you were our parents. I don't like that analogy any more than you do, but if that's what they're going to tell us they're going to be, then that's how they need to act. They need to start explaining to us exactly why they're doing the things that they're doing. Donald Trump is trying to do it. Elon Musk is trying to do it. You've got all the department heads that are coming out and being more upfront and more transparent than I think I've ever seen. And it just keeps going and going and going, and it doesn't change anything because everybody's still mad all the time about all the things. And it's just insane to me. All right, I think there may be a briefing going on. If there is, we may join it in progress here in a second. Hang on. Hang on. I know we're joining it in progress, and I'm sorry I missed the beginning of it. I usually try to keep up better, but I had things to talk about, and I missed it. So hang on. But we are going to join that in progress. So here we go.
Landscape of the media in the United States today. We will continue to rotate a print pooler who has the great responsibility of quickly transcribing the president's remarks and disseminating them to the rest of the world. And we will add outlets to the print pool rotation who have long been denied the privilege to partake in this experience, but are committed to covering this White House beat. We will continue to rotate a radio pooler and add other radio hosts who have been denied access, especially local radio hosts who serve as the
radio host, you say?
of our country. And we will add additional outlets and reporters who are well suited to cover the news of the day and ask substantive questions of the President of the United States, depending on the news he is making on that given day. This administration is shaking up Washington in more ways than one. That's what we were elected to do. As I have said since the first day behind this podium, it's beyond time that the White House press operation reflects the media habits of the American people in 2025, not 1925. A select group of DC-based journalists should no longer have a monopoly over the privilege of press access at the White House. All journalists, outlets, and voices deserve a seat at this highly coveted table. So by deciding which outlets make up the limited press pool on a day-to-day basis, the White House will be restoring power back to the American people who President Trump was elected to serve. So in that note, in our new media seat today, we have Shelby Talcott, who is a White House reporter for Semaphore. In 2022, Semaphore launched as a global digital news platform with the aim of bringing meaningful innovations to the news industry. Today, they have nearly 1 million newsletter subscribers spanning 11 separate editions. With that, Shelby, I will take your questions.
Thanks, Caroline. I've got two for you. One on foreign policy. Over the weekend, the president's special missions envoy, Rick Grenell, was talking about Venezuela, and he said that the president isn't someone who wants regime change. Other administration officials have made clear that they don't see Maduro as the rightful leader. What is this administration's policy on a new government in Venezuela?
I think the president has made his position on Venezuela quite clear. He stands in opposition to the Maduro regime, and Secretary Rubio has spoken on this extensively as well.
And then on Doge, last night Elon Musk said that a failure to respond a second time will result in termination. Will there be additional rounds of the "what did you do this week" email from Doge to federal workers? And what's the guidance on the federal workers who've been instructed by their agencies not to reply?
So a couple of things on this. First of all, let's just take a step back and talk about this idea. The president sent out a truth last weekend to Elon Musk saying he loves everything Elon is doing and he wants him to be even more aggressive because Doge thus far has proven incredibly successful in making our government more efficient. And so Elon and Doge came up with this idea. Elon has implemented this at his private companies. It has proven successful. And it's a very simple idea when you think about it. All the Office of Personnel Management is asking, all this administration is asking, President Trump is asking, is for federal workers who live off of the American taxpayers' dime to send 5 bullet points of what they have done in the previous week. That is all we are asking for. And so the Office of Personnel and Management sent out additional guidance last night. Those responses should be directed to agency leadership, and the president defers to his cabinet secretaries, who he's obviously entrusted to pursue the guidance relative to their specific workforce. And for some of the agencies that you've seen who have said, please don't send these emails, it's in their best interest for that specific agency, and the president supports that. And let me be very clear, the president and Elon is his entire cabinet are working as one unified team, implementing these very common sense solutions. You're welcome. Jackie.
Thank you. One follow-up on the questions line. Alina Habba said that you have, Elon Musk said a failure to respond a second time would result in termination. So is that a real deadline? Should federal workers be looking to that guidance, or should they be looking to the agency heads? Like, what is the actual deadline?
So again, the agency heads will determine the best practices for their employees at their specific agencies. Again, this was an idea that Elon come up with. Doge worked with OPM to actually implement the idea, and the secretaries are responsible for their specific workforce. And this is true of the hirings and the firings that have taken place. And we advise federal workers, unless your agency has dictated you not to respond to this email. In fact, I can announce that we've had more than 1 million workers who have chosen to participate in this very simple task of, again, sending 5 bullet points to your direct supervisor or manager, CCing OPM. I actually participated in myself. It took me about a minute and a half to think of 5 things I did last week. I do 5 things in about 10 minutes, and all federal workers should be working at the same pace that President Trump is working and moving. We have a country to save, and we
To
want
be
this federal
fair,
government
I don't
to be
know if anybody
responsive
else
to the
can keep
needs of
up
the
this
American
pace. I've
people who
tried.
re-elected this president to have historic, massive reform, and that's what the intention of this idea is.
Can you clarify one thing, though? Because Elon Musk also said that a reason that they wanted this 5 things email was just to see if people are actually alive, citing that there are some federal workers who might not even be alive. So meantime, NBC is reporting that these responses are going to go into an AI generator to evaluate whether these jobs are necessary. So is it just to see if people are actually working, or is it an effort to maybe cut some of those jobs?
I have not seen that NBC News report, and I haven't heard that from Doge or from Elon himself. Again, this is to ensure that federal workers are not ripping off American taxpayers, that they are showing up to the office, and that they are doing their jobs. That's what the American people expect, and it's a very simple task to complete. I did it myself, and I was more than happy to do it because I'm very grateful that I am serving the American people on the American taxpayers' dime.
Doge should hire a spokesperson just so that Elon Musk doesn't put out tweets that then confuse federal workers.
Are my press briefings not good enough for you, Jackie? John.
Carolyn, thank you. In the ruling by Judge McFadden yesterday, who dismissed the lawsuit.
Hey, don't judge me for cutting into a press conference with her hotness. I see that in the chat.
Your team members here, President Trump. In there, he said, why not just do away with the entire White House Correspondents Association along with it, because essentially they have no authority. They just usurped it. What is your reaction to that?
Well, first of all, John, it's great to see you. And you are one of those individuals who has you're on a streaming platform that hundreds of thousands of people tune into every day. So it's great to see you in the briefing room. I did address that actually in my opening remarks by announcing that the White House press team in this administration will determine who gets to enjoy the very privileged and limited access in spaces such as Air Force One and the Oval Office. There are, as you know, look at this room, hundreds of journalists who show up to this building every single day and are not granted that luxury of flying on Air Force One and asking the President of the United States questions. And so we want to ensure, again, everyone has a seat at that highly coveted table. But alas, the legacy media outlets who have been doing this for quite some time and have invested resources into covering the White House, their spots will remain, just like they have in this briefing room as well. Sure. Steve.
Could you give us an update on the negotiations around the Ukraine minerals deal, and when is President Zelensky going to come visit?
So the president talked at length about this yesterday, the critical minerals deal with President Macron, and in the more than hour-long press conference he gave all of you in the Oval Office himself. There hasn't been significant updates since the president's remarks last night, but I will just reiterate his position. It's critical that this deal is signed. He expects President Zelensky to sign a deal. This is to recoup American tax dollars that have been funding Ukraine's national defense. And it's also great for the Ukrainian people who have been put through hell because of this war. And it will create a lasting economic partnership as Ukraine will need to rebuild their country because of this brutal war.
And just to follow, is Steve Witkoff delayed his trip to the Middle East so he can concentrate on this minerals deal?
I don't want to comment on Mr. Witkoff's travel plans or read anything out just for obvious reasons, but he remains very much working. That man is working around the clock to secure this deal with Russia and Ukraine alongside Secretary Rubio and Secretary Bessent, General Keith Kellogg. He's also working very hard to secure a peace deal in the Middle East as well. So God bless him, and he's working alongside the president every single day. Sure.
All right, folks, that's where we're gonna leave this. We've got to take a break. And there's so much more to get to when we come back, so stay tuned. My name is Rick Robinson. This is my show. We're about halfway through, and we're already halfway through hour 2 for sure. We got about 90 minutes to go, so about 3 more segments with the way we currently split things up. And we've got the new Hank Johnson saying Hank Johnson-y kind of things. We may get to that when we come back, so stay tuned.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq, Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
I'm Jordan Klinger, an attorney at McIntyre Law. The decision to hire an attorney after you've been injured is important. The decision on who to hire is even more important. At McIntyre Law, we will settle a case if the offer to our client is fair. Partial justice is no justice at all. At McIntyre Law, we are committed to obtaining full justice for our clients. Contact McIntyre Law at 405-917-5200 or visit us at mcintyrelaw.com.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters they like. That is the number one way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Why such a weird intro for this segment? We're going to show you.
My tinfoil hat theory about Kathleen Kennedy is that she is purposely destroying Star Wars. She's purposely destroying Indiana Jones. Pretty much anything that Steven Spielberg or George Lucas had a hand in, she is trying to bring down. Because, as I have discovered over the course of the last few months, George Lucas and Steven Spielberg didn't actually seem to respect Kathleen Kennedy at all. Kathleen Kennedy was always coming up in these meetings with stupid ideas. They were just the worst.
And she was horrible at taking notes, and she was terrible, and she didn't really know how to do it very well. But what she did know how to do was interrupt somebody in mid-sentence. We'd be pitching ideas back and forth, and Kathy, who's supposed to be writing these ideas down, suddenly put her pencil down and would say something like, and what if he didn't get the girl, but instead he got the dog?
Kind of was like, okay.
All right, so we're going to leave that there. But the reason we open with this segment is apparently the momentum is shifting. So I have a question. Is it over? According to Red State, it might be. This is from Brandon Morse. Is it over? Kathleen Kennedy reportedly leaving Lucasfilm after a disastrous 13-year run. So Lucasfilm may see the end of its worst leader it's ever had, and it's been announced that the force is female, Kathleen Kennedy. Hey, ma'am, can you check to see if Kathleen Kennedy is under my bed? Is leaving Lucasfilm after she brought absolute destruction to every brand under that umbrella. According to Puck, Kathleen reportedly turned in her resignation notice, ending her 13-year run as head of Lucasfilm at the end of the year. So no more, ma'am, can you check to see if Kathleen Kennedy's under my bed? So those rumors have been circulating for some time, and while it's still not wholly confirmed, as Puck notes, the reports are likely true. I've made it no secret, neither have I, that I absolutely despise Kathleen Kennedy's handling of the brand. Lesbian space witches suck. Just reminding you. That made up the backbone of much of America's pop culture, especially Star Wars, which Kennedy turned into her own personal hyper-feminist self-insert. Her ability to tell good stories without injecting political messaging caused the series to plummet in popularity and played a large part in making Disney into a laughingstock. As I wrote previously, Star Wars used to be the brand that anyone could enjoy, and many did globally, but Kennedy attempted to make it appeal to a specific group of people, namely ideologically rigid women. I think you misspelled frigid, and it crashed the brand. So couldn't happen to a nicer chica, and I hope the door does in fact hit her where the good Lord split her, and does so rather briskly, because you have destroyed one of my favorite franchises. I'm hoping whoever comes in and takes things and takes the reins does a whole bunch of retconning, kind of like the Star Trek folks did with Discovery. Because if you haven't seen it yet, you really need to check out Lower Decks, because Lower Decks is not your normal Star Trek. First of all, it's animated. Second of all, it's kind of more akin to the Orville, because it's more of kind of a campy way of looking at Star Trek or Star Wars. But it continues the story after the Enterprise D crew has moved on to the Enterprise E. So it's within that time frame. And it's awesome because of on the very last episode, they basically retconned everything attached to Discovery and made it an alternate universe, which I've been claiming for years it already should have been. Because once they showed the Borg sphere on Enterprise, that proved that they were technically in what would be considered an alternate timeline now, because none of that happened in Earth's original history, according to Star Trek. Because remember, they had no idea who the Borg was. None. So you're telling me all of this taking place 100 years before Kirk's time, and they still would have had no idea who these people were? Really? Seriously? That's your take? I mean, I've been saying that for forever. It's one of the reasons why the Kurtzman ships were overpowered, because it was an alternate timeline. It's another reason why this iteration of the original Enterprise is overpowered and huge, is because it's technically an alternate timeline. Everybody seems to forget that in First Contact, they saw the Enterprise E. Some people were aborted. You can't tell me that that wouldn't have helped shape that particular timeline's evolution. There's no way it wouldn't have. I've been pushing for this ever since Enterprise, because in the original canon timeline for Star Trek, the original series, there was no record anywhere in any of the movies or any of the original series of there being a second Grand Canyon in Florida. So, yes, there needed to be some retconning done. But that's the whole point. I mean, that's the other thing. According to Roddenberry, he kind of felt like the whole V'ger probe may have been the beginning of the Borg. That was something that was never really explored. Denny just brought that up in the chat right now. And I don't mean to make everything all about sci-fi for a few minutes, but one, I absolutely love sci-fi. I know to a lot of folks that makes me a nerd. I don't really care. And two, I'm glad to see that Kathleen Kennedy's being shown the door. Somebody else who needs to be shown the door, we're going to move on to our next topic. Fannie Willis to Jim Jordan. Stop harassing me. It's Black History Month. Yeah, it's an actual thing. She said that. She said that. She said it. So, yeah, exactly. In an angry letter addressed last week to Rep. Jim Jordan, Republican Ohio chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, disgraced Fulton County DA Fannie Willis, and I said what I said, wailed about the congressional committee purportedly bullying her by investigating the affairs of her office. She suggested that he should be celebrating Black History Month instead. Rather than honor and uphold the oath you took, you have chosen to expend your time attempting to bully me, which is a complete waste of your time, Willis wrote, according to a copy of the correspondence obtained by the New York Times. Might I suggest that instead of attempting to disrupt this office's work protecting the people of Fulton County, that you celebrate Black History Month by visiting children in your district to teach them about the many contributions African Americans have made to this country, including those who have advanced democracy by successfully advocating that this nation live up to its ideals and that everyone is equal under the law. And everyone has the right to have their voice heard through exercising their right to vote. That would be a much more productive use of your time. Willis touted her recent record of defending America's multiracial democracy, birthed by centuries of racist violence and systematic oppression. For my entire tenure as district attorney of Fulton County, I have sought to honor my oath to the people of Georgia and to defend our shared multiracial democracy, which emerged after centuries of racist violence and systemic oppression of Black, brown, and Native people, women, religious minorities, the alphabet mafia, people, and so many others. She said, come what may, I will not stop defending this vision of a diverse, equitable, and inclusive society governed not by tyrants, but by the rule of law. Willis accused Jordan, whose investigative committee is turning their attention to her underlings, of targeting honorable public servants and heroic Americans who, like me, have put themselves at risk to defend our democracy. She then cited a New York Times article characterizing her as a victim of racist threats. Now, at the pinnacle of power, Willis went on, you are harassing them with frivolous requests instead of using your position to better our communities. On February 6th, Jordan demanded documents and testimony from several of Willis's staffers, including confirmed coordination between the Fulton County District Attorney FCDA's office and the January 6th Select Committee. According to the testimony of Dexter Bond, an assistant DA in the Willis administration, these individuals working under Willis traveled to Washington at the expense of Fulton County taxpayers to meet with members of the J6 panel, coordinate investigations, and review non-public congressional records. Because Willis had repeatedly refused to cooperate with these congressional probes, Jordan's committee began pursuing other avenues to obtain this information. All right, so we're going to stop right there because I'm just going to say this. Unless people start going to jail for this shit, I don't want to hear about it anymore. I don't care anymore. Because this is exactly what I'm talking about. These people, the same people that are now telling you that Donald Trump is trying to weaponize the DOJ, the FBI, and all of the above, they've already done it. We're trying to undo it. That's why they're going through everything with a fine-tooth comb and trying to see what they can get rid of, who they can get rid of, and how many people are actually still receiving a paycheck that aren't even alive anymore or may not have ever existed. I don't think you guys realize the amount of fraud that we're talking about that is running rampant through our entire government. Yes, the stuff they've talked about right now is just scratching the surface. But that's just like all these people that are screaming and yelling about how the left is or the right is going to cut your Social Security. That's not even what they're trying to do. Oh, well, here's an interesting article. This just popped up, so it must have gone out just a couple minutes ago, and it looks like it did. This is from Red State, Mike Miller. Who knew Apple's iPhone voice-to-text feature occasionally displays Trump when user says racist? So in this episode of Try to Control Your Shock and Amazement, yep, in a shocking development, iPhone's voice-to-text feature is sparking controversy after a viral TikTok video showed a user speaking the word racist, which at first showed up on the iPhone as Trump, before switching back to racist. Well, that's interesting. So, yeah. So, maybe this is why Tim Cook is trying to butter up the Trump administration. All right. Let's see what else we can get into real quick. Oh, so this just in from our friends from California. This is according to Ward Clark over at Red State again. A California legislator has introduced a bill to gut self-defense protections for citizens. Interesting. So any government at any level in a constitutional republic like ours has but one purpose: to protect the liberty and property of its citizens. But agents of government can't be everywhere, and so the citizens have the right to defend their own liberty and property in the United States. That right is enshrined in and recognized by our Second Amendment. Not every local jurisdiction recognizes this right, however, and some even seek to punish crime victims who have the temerity to defend themselves against predatory goblins. Now in California, a state assembly critter from Los Angeles, Rick Chavez Zabur, why does everybody have to have my first name? That's so assholes, has introduced AB 1333, which would amend Section 197 of the California Penal Code and largely strip away the citizen's right to self-defense in the once golden state. One critic of the bill did a Grok AI analysis of the bill, and it's rather telling. And here's a post about that very thing. So the bill mentions in the post AB 1333 introduced by California Assemblymember Rick Chavez Zabur proposes amending the state's penal code to redefine justifiable homicide, removing the legal protection for killing someone while defending property or habitation, which could criminalize such actions even if excessive force isn't used. So the analysis notes that the bill would redefine justifiable homicide. California Civil Liberties attorney Laura Powell described on her X profile, a former leftist, is still a liberal, and had this to say. Assembly member Zur of Los Angeles County introduced AB 1333, which would make it more difficult for victims of crime to claim self-defense. It eliminates the use of deadly force for protection of the home and property and imposes a slew of other limitations. Doesn't sound like she is a fan of this thing. If we lived in a low crime society with exceptional law enforcement, maybe this would be a reasonable law. In reality, it feels like the Wild West in much of California. To threaten to charge victims who try to defend themselves with murder in this current environment feels wrong. A cursory glance at the history of the Old West shows that most of the Wild Wild West days were considerably more peaceful than today's Los Angeles. The citizens have the right to defend themselves, their families, their property, and their communities. That is a fundamental human right. And yes, we have the right, when confronted by armed goblins, to use whatever force is required to protect ourselves and our property. Any law, any regulation that deprives us of that right is constitutionally and morally illegitimate. It's not clear what Assembly Critter Zabor is trying to accomplish here. There doesn't appear to be any epidemic of homeowners gunning down would-be burglars or home invaders. Not that that would necessarily be a bad thing if the goblins were a little more intimidated by our citizenry. Here in the Sunshine Valley in Alaska, or I'm sorry, the Sistina Valley in Alaska, where law enforcement is thinner than the ground that most thinner on the ground than most anywhere else in the United States, we sleep easily in our beds at night because everyone in the community is armed and would-be criminals know it. So, yeah, I'm going to say it again. If you live in the state of California, you need to leave. And I say that knowing that I have several friends that live there. You need to leave before your government gets you killed, because your government is going to get you killed because they don't care about you. Just saying. All right, so I do have another clip that I want to play on the way to break. This will probably take us right up to the edge, so hang on.
Greetings once again from the Defense Department. You, the American people, work really hard to support the men and women in uniform who keep our country safe. We, in turn, owe you transparency on what we're doing to accomplish our core mission, which is securing the nation and spending your taxpayer dollars, ours, wisely. We're going to shoot straight with you. We want you, the American people, the taxpayers, to understand why we're making the decisions that we're making here. First and foremost, as we're executing as quickly as possible the priorities of President Donald Trump. Achieving peace through strength, restoring the warrior ethos, rebuilding our military, and reestablishing deterrence. Those are no-brainers, and the American people gave a mandate to President Trump, and through him to us, to double down on those priorities, and that's exactly what we're doing. Now, the legacy media has, of course, a different agenda. You see the same clickbait headlines that I do. Time after time, the media distorts good news stories or often just gets them flat wrong. In many cases, well, in most cases, they have an agenda. Other times, they are just lazy, as they often are, and they don't take time to actually understand the facts. I encourage you to take that media, those negative reports about important decisions that we're making at the department, with a gigantic grain of salt, please. Ever since I've taken this position, the only thing I care about is doing right by the warfighters, by the troops. In short, we want the biggest, most badass military on the planet, on God's green earth. I'm in this room right now, but I'm not alone. Behind the camera are lots of vets and military family members, along with other people who, like you, are invested in exactly what that core mission is. So when we make decisions that are misreported in the media, we're going to try to get to you as quickly as possible. And not just me, it'll be other people as well. So you understand the real thought process behind them, and then how they relate to our core mission of fighting and winning war, hopefully deterring them, but fighting and winning wars, and then how we spend your taxpayer dollars wisely to accomplish that mission. So to that end, we have 3 stories that have come out, stay with me, 3 stories over the past couple of days that I want to update you on. The first is Doge. They're here and we're welcoming them. In fact, right over there, about 20 minutes ago, I just met with them. And we're going to be incorporating into what we're doing at DOD, everything they're doing to find fraud, waste, and abuse in the largest discretionary budget in the federal government. They're going to have broad access. Obviously, with all the safeguards on classification, they know that. Many of them are vets. They care just like we do. To find the redundancies and identify the last vestiges of Biden priorities, the DEI, the woke, the climate change BS, that's not core to our mission, and we're going to get rid of it all. With Doge, we're focusing as much as we can on headquarters and fat and redundancies and top-line stuff that allows us to reinvest elsewhere. We welcome Doge, And finding those efficiencies is how we save taxpayer dollars. That is a good thing that, of course, is being distorted through the media, their hyperventilation, and it just goes entirely unreported for the most part. Now, the second story in the news is our work reorienting the budget that we inherited. We inherited that budget 1 month ago from the Biden administration. We are refocusing, that's a key word, our existing budget away from the Biden priorities that, frankly, were all over the map to President Trump's priorities of building a lethal fighting force. The media wants to call these exclusively cuts, but it's the opposite, of course, as always is the case. I've got the memo right here. It's clear as a bell. Now, beginning right away, we are pulling around 8% or $50 billion from the Biden budget. We're planning, this is planning for this year, that we will move away from woke Biden-era non-lethal programs and instead spend that money on President Trump's America First, Peace Through Strength priorities for our national budget. First of all, remember, this is all planning. We're asking the services to plan. So it's not a cut. It's refocusing and reinvesting existing funds into building a force that protects you, the American people. We also list on page 2, which I've marked up here in our memo, what is not part of the 8% refocusing of funds. It's stated very clearly here. Southwest border activities, combating transnational criminal organizations, an audit, nuclear modernization, Virginia-class submarines, the Golden Dome or Iron Dome, one-way attack drones, UAVs, cybersecurity, core readiness, training, the defense industrial base, and it goes on. They and other key programs are off the table under this program. They're too important, as are many other things. So this is great news for taxpayers and for our national security. That's a full stop. We'll just put a period on that one. And the third and final bogus story that is out there is around our reevaluation of our probationary workforce. Now, this is part of something that was mandated by an executive order from the president. Remember, President Trump was elected. He has the prerogative to advance executive orders. Our job is to follow them, and we're doing that. This reevaluation of probationary employees is being done across government, not just at the Defense Department, but we believe in the goals of the program, and our leaders are carrying out that review carefully and swiftly. Now, bottom line, it is simply not in the public interest to retain individuals whose contributions are not mission critical and to restore accountability within the federal workforce. Taxpayers deserve to have us take a really thorough look at our workforce top to bottom, and it will be top to bottom, to see where we can find and eliminate redundancies. Now, common sense would tell us where we should start, right? We start with poor performers amongst our probationary employees because that is common sense and you want the best and brightest. So when you look at headcount, we're going to be thoughtful, but we're also going to be aggressive up and down the chain to find the places where we can ensure the best and brightest are promoted based on merit. And then we're going to go out, we're going to put out a hiring freeze and take more time to identify on a performance-based standard who we're going to hire and reward hard-working employees who are central to the core warfighting mission. So we're going to take a little bit more time, make sure top to bottom we're doing a review. Those who we need, who are the best and brightest, are going to stay. Those who are underperformers won't. We'll continue to shoot straight with you. We've got your back. We're motivated to rebuild the most capable military in the world. That's why I'm here. That's what the president has asked me to do. But doing so does require tough decisions, and we are prepared to make them. But in the process, we want to communicate with you directly rather than through the filter of media outlets. And it's not just going to be me. You're going to see Sean Parnell and Graham Allen and others here in the department aggressively ensuring you get the real info in real time, helping you understand what's really going on at the department. So our warfighters and taxpayers deserve, of course, no less than that. And we'll keep reporting back to you from time to time what we're seeing, and we appreciate your support. We're not going to get everything perfect, but we're going to do it earnestly. And we're going to do it on behalf of President Trump's leadership in making our military once again the most lethal, badass fighting force on the planet to keep our country safe. God bless you, and we're going to keep fighting.
All right, folks, that takes us up to top of the hour, hour 3 on the other side of the break, and still so much more to get to. I think I'm going to have notes on the table for tomorrow. Too much to cover. We'll be right back. Hello, friends. You have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy. No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars, come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot.
I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero.
I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risked their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has. When you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Our government was established to secure these rights and for the good that comes from exercising them well. This is why the founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire. Hillsdale College, pursuing truth and defending liberty since 1844.
Ready to learn some medieval combat, kiddo?
You bet, Dad. Let's do this.
You know, spending quality time with your kids is important, but finding a fun and safe way to do it can really be a challenge. That's where halberds come in. Halberds are the perfect way to bond with your kid while teaching them about history and physical fitness. Plus, they're a blast to play with. So next time you're looking for some family fun activity, grab a halberd and get ready to make some memories.
Come on, Dad. Round 2.
Halberds, bringing families together one medieval battle at a time. This commercial brought to you by the KLRNradio.com Ad Council.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
And the final hour of the It's Not Your Monday, but It Is Mine edition of the Rick Robinson Show is live right here on KLRNradio.com. Don't forget to come back later tonight, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, otherwise known as Aggie time, for the lovely Aggie Regan and the Brad with the good hair as they do the Cocktail Lounge, produced by our very own programming director at A Cosmic Bard, otherwise known as our resident alien. And then I'll be on later tonight with the whole crew doing the Manorama Shuffle. I say that because it's not always the same crew on. But we're going to be there. We've got things to discuss. Favorite segment? Don't be that guy. Make sure you're there for that. And again, that starts at 10 p.m. Eastern right here on KLR Radio, as well as Rancor Steve's YouTube and Rumble channel. And if you're wanting to chat, those are the best places to do it. We do monitor our chat over here, but since I'm actually a panelist, it's not that easy to keep up with. So anyway, so we're back. We're live, and it's Tuesday, otherwise known as It's Not Your Monday. Sadly, it is mine. But, so the hits just kind of keep coming. So this just happened. This is from our friends at Red State, written by Bob Hoge. Dateline today, and just came out just a little bit ago, actually right before we went to break. So remember Andrew Yang? Everybody remember that guy? The lawyer, entrepreneur, Democrat who came out of nowhere to become a player in the 2020 race for the Democratic presidential nominee. No more Yangi, my Wangi. Just kidding. His signature proposal was a universal basic income, which he called a freedom dividend. He was described in the media at the time as a dark horse and a novelty candidate, but then his popularity grew during the debates, and he even attracted fervent fans known as the Yang Gang. He didn't win the nomination, but afterwards changed his affiliation to independent and went on to found the Political Action Committee Forward Party in 2021, which is billed as an alternative to the two major parties. He can frequently be found opining on CNN, where you can usually hear things like this while he's on. Because who the hell watches those people anymore anyway? All right, he can call himself an independent or whatever else he wants, but his track record shows that he's certainly no conservative. For reasons known only to himself, he ran a poll starting Monday asking how are you feeling about the Trump admin thus far? I don't think this was the answer that he was looking for. So Eric Doherty covered this on his X post, and just in, Democrat Andrew Yang runs polled about the Trump administration, and it horribly backfired. How are you feeling about the Trump admin thus far? Great is 70% plus 56. Terrible is 14%. Of course, that's mostly Democrats, and 11% independents only. And that says, wow. So yeah, that's okay. So the reality, which he should have known, is that Trump's popularity is soaring right now, and the majority of Americans love what he's doing. Red State's Ward Clark brought you the actual numbers. On Monday, the Trump administration released a missive on the official White House, officialwhitehouse.com, and also on the X account, promoting the overall favorable results of a new poll conducted by Harvard Caps Harris, showing broad approval from the American public for President Trump's policies. So, a new poll by Harvard Caps Harris reveals the majority of the country backs President Donald Trump and his actions to bring much needed reform that are making America great again. 81% support the deporting of criminal illegal immigrants. 76% support a full-scale effort to find and eliminate fraud and waste in the government. 76% support closing the border with additional security, along with additional security and policies. 69% support keeping men out of women's sports. And yet that's a hill that a lot of leftists seem like they're wanting to die on. 68% support government declaring there are only two genders. 65% support ending race-based hiring in government. 63% support freezing and reevaluating all foreign aid expenditures and the Department of, or the department that handled them specifically. 61% support reciprocal tariffs. You wouldn't know that by listening to the media. 60% support direct U.S. negotiation with Russia to end the war in Ukraine. 59% support cutting government spending already approved by Congress. 57% support ending the ban on new offshore drilling. So, and this is from one of the Trump supporters and Trump impressionists that you may have gotten to know a little bit here. So, Sean Faresh chimes in and says, "Wow, it's almost like the agenda is widely popular or something." Yang may now be an independent, and he hasn't presented himself as a foaming at the mouth never Trumper, but it's nevertheless highly unlikely that he's pleased with these results. This tweet pretty much sums up his judgment. And this is from Andrew Yang on June 30th, 2024. If Joe Biden does step aside, he would immediately go down as one of the greatest presidents of all time, and his legacy would be one of personal triumph and nobility. Dun, dun, dun. But that's not his legacy. His legacy is a loafer stuck on a flaming bag of shit. That's legacy. That's his legacy. And he made it that way. We didn't do it for him. He did it. All right. So hang on, because I've got a clip here that I want to show you guys. We're doing a shorter version of the clip that I was going to play because I don't think we have enough time to do the whole thing. We probably will tomorrow. Because let's face it, Joy Reid's meltdowns are going to be making the rounds around here for a while. But this is a shorter version of some of the crap that she's been saying since she's been let go by her own network.
In America, there's a thing about both white.
Oh, wait, hang on. I guess that's not what this is. This is a flashback to things that she said previously.
In America, there's a thing about both white vigilantism and white tears, particularly male white tears.
You're a racist.
Really white tears in general, because that's what Karens are, right? They Karen out, and then as soon as they get caught, it's like, bring waterworks.
A few moments later.
My show had value, and that, I'm sorry.
Ah, boy, here we go.
That what I was doing had value.
Single tear, white woman tears happening right here, Joy.
And in the end, I'm sorry, I try not to cry on TV. And I say this is kind of like being on TV, so I apologize.
You're a total hypocrite.
And then it mattered.
Clean yourself up.
Welcome to the eulogy, eat it up. It's called political buffoonery.
In America.
There you have. Nope, I'm sorry. All right, so there you have Joy Reid lamenting about white tears and how delicious they are. And then she goes on. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she should have talked about them like white chocolate tears, because then she could have ended her ranting, apologize for the chocolate tears here. I don't know. But look, the simple fact of the matter is nobody's paying attention to you. The only people that were keeping your program alive are the people like me that talk about your program. And I will admit, I'm going to miss your segments because they were fun. But at the same time, a lot of people that used to be on your side of the argument are at least shifting a little bit because they're starting to understand that the American people are starting to find out that you guys are the ones that lost the plot. 69% of Americans are opposed to men and women's sports, and yet a Democratic governor just tried to stand. I think she's a Democrat. I never even bothered to look. She talks like one. The governor of Maine, who I think is a Democrat, tried to go toe-to-toe with the president during a luncheon and talk about how she was going to follow state and federal laws. Well, guess what? Federal law trumps state law when it comes to things like this. And the Biden administration has put out, or the Biden administration, who tried to basically say that gender discrimination included people that were pretending to be a certain gender, the Trump administration took that away. And I'm sorry, folks, the land of make-believe time is over. And if you don't like that, then please feel free to move to a country that supports that idea, because I'm tired of the rest of us having to support your lunacy. I don't care how you want to live as long as you leave me alone. In your own personal space, you can be whatever gender you choose to be in. As long as you are in your own personal space, I don't care what you call yourself. I don't care how you dress. When you start intertwining that with public spaces, and even then, even more personally, intertwining it into female spaces, then I, as a father of daughters and a grandfather of granddaughters, is going to take offense and is going to take exception to you being allowed to swing your penis around in front of little girls and other women because they don't want to see that shit. And I said other women specifically because you still claim to want to be called one, but you are not. And I, for one, am done supporting your fallacy. I am done supporting your mental delusions. I'm sorry if it hurts your feelings. I'm sorry if it makes you feel like you are not valued. You can be perfectly valued as a member of society without us having to reinforce your insanity and, to an even greater degree, your inanity. Because that's what we're talking about right now. You guys realize there is a guy that has finally been arrested after doing this multiple times, who was on the sex offender registry and kept being allowed to go into places like what is the Planet Fitness and then a couple of different swimming pools that are open for public use in the evenings. And because he identified as a woman in these leftist leaning areas, one of which was Virginia, he was allowed to shower with women and girls, and he's on the sex offender registry. It took them years to deal with it. And he's on the sex offender registry. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to start calling things as they are, not as we wish them to be when it comes to things like this. I understand that those of us that are Christians, we like to believe in the idea that our voice has power and that we can speak things into existence. And one of the scriptures specifically says, call things as you wish them to be, not as they are. This is not one of those times that this applies. If you are born with a penis, then you're a man, because your genetics has determined that for you, because you have an X and a Y chromosome, not two X chromosomes. Your genetics is what determines your gender. There's no such thing as gender ideology. And the sooner we get away from that madness, the happier everybody's going to be. Because I still think that number's too high. I think there's no reason this shouldn't, at least at this point, just like Donald Trump said the other day, I feel like this is a 90-10 issue and we can't even find out who the 10% are. But you know what? There are certain people that say it because they feel like they're going to be browbeat if they don't. There's other people that say it and say that they identify as that because it makes them special. They're not ordinary anymore. You've got this kid that just won a pole vaulting tournament in Maine, or I guess the event during track and field or whatever it was, who was a dude until 5 minutes ago. You've got a guy that was sixth place as a dude, dominating the women's side. Whether, in case you've missed the memo, the new version of the patriarchy is if you can't beat them, join them, and then take over their spaces. because this is exactly what's happening. And you've got people that are supposed to be on the feminist side that are siding with the men pretending to be women. When the hell did I become a feminist? I'm openly advocating for protecting women and women's spaces, and now that makes me a feminist. Do you realize that most feminists are tired of the modern feminist movement because they're recognizing it for what it is, which is men who can't hack it as men becoming women? You know the reason we don't really talk about that happening the other way around? Because it doesn't happen that often. And typically when it does happen, there's a good chance they're going to commit suicide because a woman pretending to be a man is going to find out exactly how much life sucks as a man compared to being a woman. And there is a huge difference. And if you don't believe me, just look at how society treats a man. There have been times on the Manorama panel that I have been diametrically opposed to some of the things that they've been saying, but because I'm new there, I don't feel like picking a fight with them yet because they keep talking about how men should be the ones that are doing these specific things. And while I agree with that, society says that's all we're good for. So all we're doing is perpetuating the very stereotype that a lot of us are now trying to fight because we've done all those things and we're still not finding happiness. Because we have discovered, especially if you are married, the only person that determines how long you stay married is the female in your relationship. It's not up to you. You can give them everything that you think society says you're supposed to give them. And if they're not happy, they're going to find a way to get away from you. And it doesn't matter that you've done all the things that society says you're supposed to do. Doesn't matter that you know how to go out and kill something and skin it and cook it. Doesn't matter that you know how to build a house. Doesn't matter that you know how to do plumbing. None of that matters. Because if they're not happy, they're not staying with you. Men will stay in a miserable relationship just because they understand that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to provide for the people that matter to them. I know because I did it. And I was miserable for a long time. But it didn't matter because I was still doing the right thing. I made vows. Those vows mattered to me. And I stood by them. And I say all of this to you, not to badmouth women, but to make you understand how skewed everything is in society. Because it's nuts. Because a man can do everything that he feels like he's supposed to be doing, and the moment she's not happy, none of it matters anymore. But that's society's fault too. That's the same thing that happened with modern feminism. And I'm telling you right now, actually, even the original meaning of feminism, and I'm telling you right now, that was a government conspiracy. They found a way to double their tax base. That's all that was about. Do you notice how much more expensive everything got after suddenly everybody became a two-income household? Everybody became a two-income household, and suddenly both parties were vying to have the dollar uncoupled from gold. And the next thing you know, there's more money in circulation. There's all these things, and all of a sudden, everything's a hell of a lot more expensive than it used to be. Funny how all that works, right? Nobody wants to talk about that part. I've tried to have that conversation on this very show, and I've had people that have messaged me later telling me that I'm full of shit. I'm not. It may be anecdotal evidence, but it's still evidence. Look at it. There was a reason they started pushing not only for the women to leave the home, but also for women to leave their husbands because it helped them get onto government programs. And how many times have you seen it in your own life where a woman who's in a relationship leaves because the government says, as long as he's with you, we can't help you. But since as soon as you leave him, we're going to help you get a low income house. We're going to help you with food. We're going to help you with this. We're going to help you with that. And eventually you can go back to work and find your own way off of it. We'll go with and we'll be there from there. I've seen it play out dozens of times with friends and family that I had growing up. The nuclear family isn't valued anymore because the government can't have that. And part of it is because if you've got men raising girls, which sadly I had to do, and women raising boys, which my mom had to do, you have people that don't understand what their actual roles are because you don't have anybody telling them what their roles are. As a matter of fact, you start having a distorted self-view. And I think that's half of what's going on in this country right now, because now Not only do you have single parent homes doing the best they can in a bad situation, but you've got everybody being inundated with all these ideas of, well, maybe you were born in the wrong body, or maybe you'd be happier if you were attracted to the same gender. And you see it everywhere. It's in TV, it's in movies. We're talking about in both instances, if you take them both together, we're talking about less than 1% of our population in reality, but it's everywhere. You can't turn on a TV show anymore without seeing either a transgender, some sort of homosexual, or both. And it's 1% of our population. That's a problem. And it should be a problem. And it shouldn't make you a racist for pointing out, or any form of ist for pointing out, that this shouldn't be being paraded in front of everybody's faces. Because it's normalizing something that isn't normal. And I say that in front of friends that I have that are gay. I'm sorry, that's not normal. I'm not judging you for it. I'm simply stating a fact. There is a biological reason that you are supposed to be attracted to who you're attracted to, and it's for the species to be able to survive. The fact that we have so many people that are now mutilating themselves or voluntarily choosing to not procreate because they've decided that the only thing that matters to them is that moment of pleasure is a bad thing. The world's population is on decline, and the thing that nobody's telling you is most of the people in charge want it to be that way. The same people that are screaming and yelling at you about Project 2025 ain't saying nothing about Agenda 2030, which has been around a lot longer than that because it used to have a different name. And that's what happens. If they don't get their goals within the time frame that they're supposed to be getting them done, then they just change the name, push the can a little further down the road, and keep trying. This is what USSAID has been instrumental in, is reshaping the world in that image. This is why they're freaking out, because we have people actually looking behind the curtain now, and it terrifies them because so many people didn't care, and now a lot of people care. To tell you how many people care, I want to go back to over 80% of the country approve of everything that Donald Trump is doing right now. I don't remember the last time I've, at least, now granted, that's a public opinion poll on X, but when have you seen numbers like that for anybody? I'm just saying, when have you seen numbers like that for anybody? And here we sit yet again with people just telling us, I think we're doing the right things finally. All right. Let's see what else we can get into. So I don't usually give you guys that much of a peek behind the paywall, but we are for a little bit here just so I can promote a fellow freelancer with Salem Media and also fellow host and co-host here, Brad Slager. It's a red wedding at MSDNC with multiple hosts being shown the exit door. Now, he actually typed in MSNBC, but I never give them that kind of exposure. So just to go into this a little bit, this is an in memoriam for MSDNC. She joins the Joy Down on Her Luck Club. Some stirring news came out over the weekend that Joy Reid found out her program, The Readout, had been canceled. This was at once expected news and surprising all at the same time. This is because she seemed to have a bit of Teflon within the network, given the state of her ratings over the years. Reid had the distinction of shedding significant viewership from her lead-in, The Beat with Ari Maybar. And that number would recover as Chris Hayes took to the airwaves at 8 p.m. So because of these recent cuts, there may actually be some steep discounts on used cubicles at the network. After we had this teed up, word came out that more dismissals were taking place at the beleaguered network. MSNBC has now added to the list of cancellations a clutch of weekend hosts: Jonathan Capehart, A.M. Mahalen and Katie Fang have all been excused from the airwaves. At this point, you begin to wonder if they are going to require Rachel Maddow to appear for 7 days weekly with dual appearances throughout the weekend. So at this rate, all they will do is play repeats of the WNBA finals. Add another name to the media pyre as we go into in memoriam continued point 3. NBC News has currently reported and announced today that Lester Holt will be leaving his post as anchor for NBC World News Tonight. Holt plans to linger until the start of summer, at which point he will be featured on Dateline. So now that we get to say this, this network is an admitted fake news outlet, if we recall, the news of all the firings is made more surprising when the names that are costing the network significantly in a lawsuit have not been affected. It is in this time that we need to hearken back to collective reaction in the press to the news that Fox News settled out of court its defamation suit with Dominion Voting Systems. At the time, there was no shortage of pundits and or journos crowing about this, but somehow, and this proved Fox News delivered fake news after they declared that they reached a settlement. And that was therefore, according to the other media types, a sign of admitting guilt. Now, here we are within weeks of seeing two of those networks braying over the Fox News results, going through their own dose of defamation shame. Recently, CNN was found liable for defamation and malice by a jury and then hastily brokered a punitive settlement before being judged with a defamation or with a definitive number. And now MSNBC has its turn. That network just decided to settle its impending suit against a fraudulent report about a doctor hired by the U.S. Border Authority to allegedly perform unneeded hysterectomies on female immigrants. Rachel Madcow, Chris Hayes, and Nicole Wallace have been named as their shows repeatedly covered that false story, as well as reporter Jacob Sabaroff, who delivered the flawed report. So now we move into the hoax and change portion of the program. NBC News criticizing others' headgear while wearing a tinfoil chapeau. Ken Dillon made for himself a reputation as being one of the most boisterous Russian collusion voices years back, and he continues to be a reliable mouthpiece in the press for the intel community. It is for that reason that seeing him recoil at the news that Dan Bongino is leaving his broadcast career to accept the deputy FBI director position alongside Kash Patel is so gosh darned amusing. Seeing Dillon referring to anybody else as a prolific conspiracy theorist is like listening to Stormy Daniels giving a lesson on sexual abstinence. So artisanally crafted narratives through CNN, pushing this narrative while pulling down their ratings. When it comes to the trans issue, the press seems to lose the script when they want to impose restrictions and legislation on a vast majority opposing such. It has been clear that biological males in sports or women's restrooms is something a majority do not favor, and the press is completely on board with promoting this fallacy. All right, so last bit we're going to cover here because I don't want to give away the whole article for free. Pros and contradiction, the bulwark. So reaching out to journalists was more important than securing their job. Many in the media circles are enraged about the accountability email that went out to federal employees from Elon Musk, asking them to deliver a list of 5 accomplishments they accomplished in the previous week. Sam Stein delivers a gripping account of one worker who stated they were too overcome with personal details from an impending pregnancy to respond to his email. Curiously, the lady was not too overcome to seek out Sam's address and send out an email to him. If this tableau makes sense to you, you might be qualified for government agency work. All right. So you're welcome to check out the article there. If you don't have access to VIP, I do recommend that you do so. We have a code here that I think still works. I need to check. I haven't given it out in a while, but you can get full access to all of Town Hall properties by using this particular code right here. So As far as I know, the code is still libtard. You get a 50% discount for putting that in. If you do decide to take advantage, I would recommend probably doing at least the gold, if not platinum. Platinum gives you Town Hall TV, which is pretty amazing. It actually helps me with some of my show research. So I would recommend that you at least check into it, and you can do so by scanning that code right there if you are so inclined. All right, so we're long on this segment, so we're going to have to take the final break. I didn't realize how long we were. But the good news is I got some of the scraps off the table for tomorrow while we were doing that. So hang on, let me get ready to get us out of here. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Final segment of the It Is Not Your Monday, but It Is Mine edition of the Rick Robinson Show. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to go cry into my coffee some more than it's already Monday. And I know it's my Monday on a Tuesday. I get it. Hello, friends. You have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars. Come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot. I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero. I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risk their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has, when you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the number one way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
I only wanted to get your attention, but you overlooked me somehow. Besides, you had too many boyfriends to mention, and I played my guitar too loud. How do you like me now? How do you like me now? Now that I'm on my way, you still think I'm crazy, standing here today. I couldn't make you love me, but I always dreamed about living in your radio.
And how do you like me now? Welcome back into the program, ladies and gentlemen. Final 20 minutes of the It's Not My Monday, or It's Not Your Monday, but It Is My Monday edition of the Rick Robinson Show, live right here on KLRradio.com. And again, for now, we do this thing every Tuesday through Friday between the hours of noon to 3. I might be sliding earlier soon. I have not been able to convince myself to do so, because it means getting up at like 3 in the morning. And that means some days I might as well not even go to sleep. So I haven't figured it out yet. It would be good in some ways and terrible in others. So I'm still weighing the cost benefit ratio. So we shall see. But in the final segments, I did mention this earlier, and then I kind of forgot we left it on the table. And the funny thing is, I said it was the new Hank Johnson saying Hank Johnson-y kind of things, but it actually was Hank Johnson. So hang on, let me get this clip queued up, and then we'll discuss after. One moment, please.
If a president willfully failed or refused to comply with a court ruling, they could be held in contempt of court theoretically, but it would be up to the U.S. Marshals Service, which is a part of the Justice Department, to be the enforcement arm for the federal courts. Is that correct?
Your hypothetical would have to play itself out.
It would be the U.S. Marshals who fall under the Department of Justice who would have to carry out the contempt order. And so what would happen if the U.S. Marshals Service, under the command of the Justice Department at the direction of the president, refused to carry out a court order of contempt? What would then be the state of our democracy?
Again, I'm here on behalf of the Judicial Conference to talk about the shortage of judges that we have, and I would comment on those needs in particular.
So in other words, in case you missed the memo, Hank Johnson is calling for Donald Trump to be arrested by the U.S. Marshals if he's ever found to be in contempt of court for failing to comply with a court order. Now, keep in mind, this was the same person in the same side that for the last 2 years of the Biden administration, as they kept being struck down in the courts, they kept saying, it doesn't matter anymore because the Supreme Court said that you're all powerful while you're still sworn in as president, so you should just do whatever the hell you want to do. So, yeah. Interesting, because here's the thing. A sitting president can't be charged with anything until after they've been impeached and successfully removed from office. And unless the American people are stupid, I don't see that happening anytime soon. So here's another little quick hit on the way out the door from my good friend Brad Slager. The BBC is going through a core meltdown as biased details expose its pro-Hamas documentary. The British Broadcasting Company, or as we call it around here, Big Black Cock. Just saying. I know. I did it on purpose, though. I haven't said that in a while.
Giggity, giggity, giggity goo.
And I know it's terrible to say. Some of you are like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. I didn't have my earphones, didn't work. That's your own fault. Just saying. You guys should. I give a language warning on every break. You should know. You should know. So the BBC has been been a regular pro-Hamas outlet since the October 7 attacks. The network has taken a decidedly sympathetic approach during the war, has had to issue a number of corrections over those same stances, and over that time, due to repeating Hamas talking points, and they've displayed general favoritism toward the terrorist group. At one time, the outlet referred to the hostages taken by Hamas as prisoners to give a sense of the slant at the BBC. I know. I don't even have to say it anymore. Some people are like, ew. So it was rather on brand to see the news source come out with a documentary entitled Gaza: How to Survive a War Zone, which depicted the horrors faced by Palestinians today, or as I call them, Gazans. The doc is centered on a 13-year-old boy and follows him as he endures the societal effects of the war-torn area where he lives. Upon release, trouble began to emerge concerning this particular documentary, and the disturbing issues have only grown. Wonder why that could be. Let's keep reading. The controversy began last week with many critics noted that the boy featured had a problematic background. This child, who is 13 years of age, turns out to be the son of a Hamas minister. But this only began the problems for the BBC. Initially, the news organization claimed to have full editorial control of the documentary, but once this revelation came out, the network immediately turned to blame this on the production for not informing them properly about the background of this boy. Now, since this has been learned, 2 other children featured in the documentary also turned out to have questionable connections with Hamas. And just as the BBC, brown chicken, brown cow, was dealing with this internally, more issues with this production have surfaced. The latest has shown that one of the cameramen involved in this production, shouldn't they be camera people? I mean, I guess this is Red State writing, but I'm kind of surprised that, BBC doesn't call them camera people, has a history of pro-Hamas commentary on social media. So this entire production is looking like most of the past BBC reports, which have been sympathetic to the Hamas cause. And as each one of these details emerges, it's only drawing more attention to their network, to the documentary, and to the problems behind the BBC's stance on the war. While with all of these controversies emerging, Israel is getting involved, and it is called for action. All of these developments have the network completely off balance, and now the internal reviews are taking place. Now that the internal reviews are taking place, this becomes a very interesting aspect because the BBC has a history of proclaiming how much editorial rigor they possess at the network. I think they might need some pills for their editorial rigor. Sorry, I didn't realize I left that video up, but I wasn't really doing more than skimming the article anyway. But anyway, wow, that was a lot of anyways. I guess I am still pretty tired today. It's been a long weekend, especially with everything else that was going on behind the scenes. So, yeah, fun times. Fun times. All right, so let's see what else we can get into real quick. Not that anybody should be that surprised by what the BBC's been doing, but we have to talk about this. This is from PJ Media, Stephen Green. So the Atlantic is now calling for a liberal version of the Tea Party. Does anybody else find that a little hilarious? Over at the Atlantic, which used to be a serious magazine, David Graham wonders, what would a liberal Tea Party look like? I'll pause here a moment while you wipe the tears of laughter from your eyes. Okay, I think that was a long enough pause. A new president has taken office, elected in response to widespread economic dissatisfaction. Now he's trying to make big changes to the government. And some voters are upset, Graham wrote. They're angry at the president's party for backing the changes, and they're angry at the opposition party for not doing more to stop it. That's a fitting description of what's going on now, but I was thinking of 2009 when the Tea Party movement erupted amid Barack Obama's attempt to pass major healthcare reform. No, the protest emerged in response to Obama's $1 trillion stimulus package. And when Graham mentioned former House Speaker John Boehner, or as I used to call him, John Boner, as some kind of Tea Party favorite, there were more tears of laughter. Accuracy doesn't seem to be his thing. At least give Graham credit for earnestness. He appears to believe what he wrote about the left's need for a grassroots or something, anything to revitalize the Democrats. And he was good enough to mention the original attempt at creating a lefty Tea Party alternative, the short-lived and entirely astroturfed coffee party. I didn't even know that was a thing. Anybody else not hear about that? Has there been another timeline shift? I don't remember that. Anyway, but let's talk about the Tea Party for a moment, which got stomped into the ground by Obama's deep state buddies at the IRS. Having failed or fighting wasteful government spending through peaceful protest, conservatives rallied around Mitt Romney during the next go-around in 2012, despite our reservations. So, as we get ready to call it quits for the day, let me show you a short clip that outlines the current Democratic Party. All right, I'm pretty sure there are more people watching this broadcast on X right now than were at that particular event. I'm just saying. Now, look, I don't care that they're trying to get motivated. I don't care that they're trying to get involved. It's one of the things that I've been saying for a long time. I don't really care what side of the aisle you're on. Get off the couch, put down the remote, and figure out a way to make your world better. If you think we're going the wrong direction, then do something about it. Most of the country doesn't, though. You guys are going further and further out on the same limbs that keep being cut out from underneath you. And I, for one, am not going to help you undo that. I'm just going to keep highlighting it because it's dumb. The stances that you guys are taking are dumb. So please keep taking them. The majority of the country is telling you that at least the guy's doing what he said he was going to do, even if they don't necessarily agree with the fact that he is doing it. When is the last time you had a politician that actually tried to do that? We're watching Congress do the exact opposite again right now. And there's a reason, in my opinion, that the word Congress is used for a lot of our elected officials and also counts as a giant group of baboons. Pretty sure that's the same thing for a reason. And that's just it. You've got a president trying to do everything that he can to trim waste, get rid of abuse, get rid of the DEI bullshit so we can start hiring people because they're good at their jobs, not because of certain demographic boxes that need to be checked. And look at what's happening. It's actually starting to work. You know what? I used to think it was funny that they started talking about how, before a certain point in time, there wasn't a Secretary of Defense, but that's because it had a different name. It was the Secretary of War before then. That department's been around for a long time. That leadership position has been around for a long time. And with them shifting back to war fighting, I kind of felt like we need to change the name again. Because here's the thing that not very many people are talking about. In December, and I think this is largely because of what they saw was happening after the election, the overall admission rate into the military was up by 10% for the number of people that were actively trying to enlist. Now in January, it's been up by 15%. Those are insane kind of numbers when everybody was like, I don't know if I want to serve in this military. But there's a reason that they are. It's because it's getting back to what it's supposed to be. The ability for us to have a strong defense, the ability for us to have a strong military, not a petri dish. The entire leftist movement has turned all of democracy into a petri dish where they can see how many different subcategories they can shove us into to keep us fighting with one another, because that's what they need. In order for them to win the day, we have to keep fighting with one another. And as long as we aren't willing to see that there are both sides beside that have a different letter behind their name that all want the same things, we're never going to get rid of all of it, because they really do. There is an ensconced group in DC that want the same things all the time because they've been able to shore up their income level, their power bases, and all they're worried about is hanging on to those things. And they're using some of the very things that you and I take for granted to be able to do that. Does it seem weird to anybody else that the same people that get to decide which companies get specific contracts are the same ones that, get to buy stock in those companies? Does that not seem weird to anybody else? You want to start talking about conflict of interest, we really should start there. Because we saw the same thing in COVID or during COVID. And I know I'm broadcasting to YouTube right now, and I'm going to say it again. Try it. I dare you. Because the truth is out there now. And I will hire somebody who will take the case on a contingency just to own your ass. And I mean it. Because I'm done living in fear. I watched you guys almost crush my network once during COVID, and we're still here. So keep trying. Go ahead. I don't care. But I say all of this to you because the truth is out there now. Simple fact of the matter is, for $30, you could have gotten enough drugs to keep COVID out of your system for 90 days. But they wanted you to sign up for the $4,000 per dose remdesivir. It was highly subsidized by our government. So no, you guys weren't paying for it, but well, not technically. The individuals that were using the doses for the most part weren't, but the taxpayers were. And guess where that money was going? Right into the pockets of folks like Anthony Fauci that had strong investments in the very same company that was using the product, or that was producing the product remdesivir. I'm going to be completely honest with you in the last 2+ minutes that we have here. You're never going to completely get rid of conflict of interest. It's impossible. But you can do enough to make sure that the people that are writing the laws and passing the laws can't profit from them. That's what needs to change. Or at least we need to be given the same accesses. But here's the thing. All of our resources, they have termed to be finite. Some of them are, some of them aren't. All of our money, they have termed to be finite because it creates shortages and it creates supply and demand. Supply and demand increases prices, respectively. And it allows the people at the top to stay at the top. And there's a reason the Democrats don't talk about millionaires anymore, because almost every single one of them is one of those. And if they aren't yet, they will be within a couple of years, because they're getting the same infusions of cash that you and I would love to be able to get. I mean, do you guys realize that if I had played the same game as the Democrats, I could be a millionaire right now? I could have founded this LLC years ago, put a few dead people on my payroll, and made bank off of the COVID money. I didn't, but I could have. There were lots of Democrats and lots of Republicans that did. This is what needs to change. We need to start putting people into positions of authority and power that actually understand what it means to have those positions. In a lot of places right now, I think we do, in more ways than we've had in a very long time. But it'll be up to us to keep showing up for them. And I'm not telling you not to call balls and strikes. There are plenty of things that both parties are doing that I will still call into question. I don't have a love for all of the things that are being crammed into both of these spending bills for each party or for each group, both the House and the Senate. But again, I don't really know what we do to fight it or change it without shutting everything down, which gets almost nothing accomplished that we need to get accomplished. And let's not forget, we only have a few more months. Campaign season's already started again. Some of these people that are on his side right now aren't going to be in another 11 months, if not sooner, because that's just the nature of the beast. All right, we have reached that point of the program, ladies and gentlemen, where I do have to tell you this particular show, she is over, and I'm sorry to have to tell you that, but it is the truth. We'll be back later tonight for Manorama, 10 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget to hang out before then for the Cocktail Lounge with the lovely Aggie Regan and the Brad with the good hair. But again, we've reached the point in the program where I do have to tell you that this one, she is over.
What? Over? Did you say over? Nothing is over until we decide it is. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell no!
Closing time. Open all the doors and let you out into the world.
This isn't over until I say it's over!
Closing time.
Well, that's great. That's just fucking great, man. Now what the fuck are we supposed to do? Game over, man. Game over.
Closing time. Time for you to go out to the places you will be from. Closing time. This room won't be open till your brothers or your sisters come.
I love you, Oklahoma. What a great crowd. I love you.
Say goodnight, Gracie.